Greetings, Vault Hunters all across the 6 galaxies. Welcome to the Bordercast. We are live at our almost always usual time, Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. I'm Mitsu.
And I'm Tessica, coming to you every week to break down all things Borderlands.
It's a little wide and a little strange, but it's also a ton of fun. Bounty of Blood is now live on all platforms.
One of the most engaging and elegant DLCs perhaps ever in Borderlands. Mitsu and I break down our Wild West excursion with our very special guest, Moxsy.
Yay, Moxsy's here.
Hello.
Hey, bud.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's good to have you on. I know we had you on Ultimate Vault Hunters, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But first, as always, we wanted to take a minute to thank all of our new listeners and all of our old listeners on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and all of those watching live right now on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, or later on the VOD on YouTube. If you're enjoying the program, we would love for you to give us a big old like, follow, or favorite, because please. Oh, Moxsy, it's so good to have you here, finally. We talked about this before Ultimate Vault Hunters, I believe, having you come on, so we couldn't think of a better time to make it happen. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for having me here. Super excited. Appreciate it.
Anytime. You know, Guardian Takedown is out now. The Legendary Collection is out on Switch. Bounty of Blood, of course, out right now. And I wanted to take 5 seconds to say, in a very cheap plug for my favorite platform, Steam Summer Sale is in full swing right now. I'm sorry for all of your wallets. Borderlands 3 in all of its forms, that's the normal, the deluxe, and the super deluxe versions of the game, are all 50% off, and the season pass itself is 20% off right now. And there are lots of cool things that you can unlock on Steam using those Steam points, including Borderlands 3 emotes, profile backgrounds, and more. Get you some right now. Go ahead and do it. Oh, all right. I think I got all the good stuff out of the way. Yes. Okay.
Lots of cool things.
Yeah, it's been a pretty wild ride. Let's move right into it. This past week, Moxsy, we'll start with you. How was your past week in Borderlands, bud?
Past week has been busy, very fun and busy. Been playing more Borderlands than I think I have in a long time.
Really?
Yeah, been trying to just get a grasp of all of the new changes, all of the new weapons, play the DLC, level up all my characters. It's been awesome.
That's good. Do you feel like the patch so far has kind of like facilitated that? Like, has it rekindled your love for Borderlands?
Absolutely. I basically said that it really feels like Borderlands again, like with all the changes, all of the weapons, all of the characters, all of the builds, like you kind of make anything work, which is so awesome.
Yeah, I feel like people have so much more freedom now. There's so many builds kind of popping up out of the woodwork, or the genius brains of people like Moxsy and Lazy Data and all of our friends. I've been playing Amara this whole time, and people keep recommending like one build or another build or a third build or a fourth build, and I'm like, oh my god, it's only been 3 days. This is amazing. It's very
Somebody
cool.
came into chat today and told me that they were successfully at Mayhem 10 using an Amara melee build. That's a real thing that I saw today. That is the first time I've ever seen somebody claim, I don't know how true it is, I want to believe them, but I don't know how true it is, that an Amara build or any melee build at all is actually viable at end game content. That's crazy to me. I'm so happy.
That's awesome.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
Very awesome.
It's been a wild ride. I started playing Flak this week for the first time ever.
Wow.
Yes, we're finally there. We finally got to the, you know what it is? It's and here's the tease. Lazy is going to be on the next episode of Ultimate Vault Hunters, and he's going to unveil that build that he used to re-nerf Mayhem 10 true takedown, Guardian Takedown. And that kind of like inspired me to actually take the plunge and learn how to play Flak. So I want to get out there and do it.
Nice. Very nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's a little scary. He like, I feel the big thing that I need to learn how to do is chain fadeaway right now. Once I get that down and I'm like constantly in stealth and constantly getting the damage buff, I'll be in a much better spot. But until then, it's just kind of, it's a learning process. It's a learning curve. It's nice that my pet revives me though. That's
handy, right?
Yeah.
Very handy.
and stays alive really well now too.
Yeah.
Oh god, I might have to revive my flak. I said this while we were filming Ultimate Vault Hunter. I'm excited for people to see that episode. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. Moxsy's episode was really, really, really awesome. It was one of my favorites.
Yeah.
The Ricochet Witch. Now I'm really curious about your new builds that you're gonna be coming up with, or have been coming up with.
The nature of everything has changed so much, right?
Yeah, there's so much more possibilities now because of the changes to Mayhem. They scaled everything scales now. Your action skill scales, grenade scale, everything scales, weapons, vehicles scale, and environmental damage. It was really funny because I totally, I think last week we were talking about environmental damage scaling and we were giving the example of barrels and things like that. And I was like, is this super relevant? Because I haven't found myself using the environment or barrels or anything like that so much up until now. I wonder if that means there's going to be more barrels or something. I don't know. I just had this thought, right? And then we get the DLC and there's those things you can punch or slide into that make everything explode. And I'm like, oh, this is why.
Yes.
So good. So good.
More barrels, always a good thing.
True. More exploding things, always a good thing.
That's Nick, right? Nick was the one behind all of the balance and math changes with all that. So that's hats off to Nick Thurston over at Gearbox, who ran the complex computations that went into making Mayhem more Mayhem-y for all of us to enjoy. So again, thank you. It seems that Moxsy, you're enjoying it, right? Like this is it. This is what you wanted, right?
Oh, it's so almost all my wishes have been answered. The first two builds that I put out with the new content were a melee Amara build, which I've been dying to do for so long, that doesn't use the face puncher, just straight up punching things. And then the next build after that was an Iron Bear build that hits for over 100 million damage. It's been so much fun.
I'm sorry. Hold on. I have to clean my ear out real quick.
Yes, Iron Bear is so strong.
Did you say 100 million?
Yes. Yeah, I did.
100 million.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Wow.
I can't believe that's real. All right. Okay.
It is
So,
real.
We're definitely going to jump into the hot fixes because there were a couple in addition to the phase 2 patch, and we'll talk about that very briefly as well, which will be really nice to do, as well as, and Noelle's going to be scared, but there was a tweet that was actually caught my eye that we'll just talk about. I promise it's not a bad one, Noelle, don't worry. This is a good one. It's actually worth mentioning. It's 5 seconds. But in the meantime, first, we've had you on Ultimate Vault Hunters, but we haven't had you here on the Bordercast. And what we like to do for people that we have coming on for the first time is we like to get to know them a little bit better. So, without further ado, who is Moxsy? First, tell us about yourself a little bit more.
Sure thing. My name is, my actual name isn't Moxsy, but here on the interwebs, I go as Moxsy. And I have been playing Borderlands since I was 13 years old, since the very first one. Always been a kind of lurker, I guess I'd call it, in the community. Played all the games, all the DLCs, all the little side things. Was dying for Borderlands 3. So excited. I actually, it took the day off just to watch the reveal of Borderlands 3. And when the game came out, I posted a video because I thought I did something pretty cool with Amara, and it got a bunch of views out of nowhere overnight. And ever since then, I've been uploading to YouTube and streaming every day, and it has been a crazy journey.
So awesome. It's such a whirlwind. I remember the whirlwind when I first started. I'm sure Mitsu does too. I feel like you never really forget because everything happens so quickly and it's almost overwhelming. But if you kind of take it while it's going crazy like that and run with it, amazing things can happen. And so I think we're very fortunate that you did just that. We're very fortunate that you decided, okay, I'm going to roll with this. I'm going to run with this. and now we have an amazing new content creator in the community and you know, to bring on to Bordercast and UVH and all that stuff. So I think a lot of people really love your videos because they're awesome and your stream because it's awesome. So I'm really glad that you're among us as a streamer, as a content creator.
Thank you so much.
So, you know, I believe you did touch on it on UVH again, but for those who have not seen that yet, how did you come up with your stream name?
It was a long time ago. Before I actually played my first Borderlands game, I get some interesting comments about choosing the name Moxsy, but it didn't have anything to do with actually Mad Moxsy. I made it actually during a math class in middle school. All of my friends, we were playing like PlayStation together, and we were coming up with names for ourselves. And I just wrote down a whole list of really cool names of like weird words spelled weirdly. And Moxsy was on that list, and I showed it. Me and my friends, like in middle school, decided that was the name I was going to go with, and I've been Moxsy ever since.
Nice.
Very cool.
I like that. Yeah, no, I like that. The whole like messing with words to try and rearrange it and have it be like your identity and your character. That's always fun to do. Yeah.
That's a lot of fun.
What about Damaged Nation? Like that's the name of your community, right?
Yes, it is.
So where did that come from?
So people caught on to the way that I say like damage. I yell it a lot during streams and in videos. I could be heard yelling, "That's a lot of damage." And I didn't actually realize, I didn't know of there's a clip of Father Phil Swift yelling, "That's a lot of damage." And I watched that, and then I incorporated that into my stream because I thought it was hilarious. And then one stream, I was talking to chat, and I was like, "What do I call you guys?" And I someone subscribed, and I said, "Welcome to the Damaged Nation." At the time, I thought it kind of sounded a little silly, and then I kept saying it, and I was like, "All right, this is what we're going with."
Nice.
That's how you create a bit. You think it sounds silly at first, but then people respond and resonate to it, and you're like, "Oh wait, this is working. Let me continue doing this forever." And so that's just who your people will be from now on. They'll be the Damaged Nation. You can't do it. I'll leave you to do it. I don't know. I've listened to Phil Swift talk a million times, and he really is like your dad now. Like,
yeah,
you're gonna have to get him on the show. He did like JonTron videos a couple years back.
They actually sent me some stuff. I don't have it at my desk, but the official Flex Seal Twitch channel popped in and said hello, and
wow,
started freaking out. And they sent me a little merch package. The only thing I have on me right now is a koozie, but they sent me a hoodie and a Flex Shot product.
Nice. That's awesome.
And they shouted me out on their official Twitter, and I lost it.
That's wow. That's super boss. Very cool.
I had no idea. That's crazy. Oh man. So to bring it back to Borderlands, you mentioned you've been playing Borderlands for some time. How long have you been playing? What was your first entry to the series?
So Borderlands 1 was my first entry, and I remember being really interested in it from that initial trailer that it wasn't cell shaded yet. It had Tannis on a cliff, and she turned and her face was all, I think that was the E3 reveal and some years ago. And then I had a GameStop magazine or some sort of subscription, and then I read about it, and I saw that they were changing the art style, and I had just been following the game and kind of interested in it. And then when I finally got my hands on it, I loved it. And it was kind of Borderlands 1 was my hook ever since then. Ever since then, I've been addicted to looter shooter genre.
Same.
And Borderlands.
Same. Borderlands was my very first modern shooter. I think the only shooter I played before then was Portal. So that's kind of what led me to Borderlands and became the addiction, so to speak.
That's funny that you would mention Portal on a day like today.
Oh no.
Great minds.
Purely coincidental, I swear. We did not write that in the script.
I should have worn the earrings. Totally wouldn't have occurred to me.
Got you had those. One's red and one's orange and one's blue, right?
Yeah.
Damn it. Yeah, that would have been good.
Time.
That would have been. That's a visual for those who's not listening. I'm wearing a Portal scarf. I probably should mention that. I'm wearing a Portal 2 scarf today, actually. And Atlas and Peabody are one side, and on the other side are the different things that you can what is it? The different challenges in each one, because it lists, oh, you might be going super fast in this one, or you might launch, or there might be cake. Cake is on it too somewhere. I think where is it? Here it is. There's the cake. Cool. All right. Anyway.
So what first attracted you to Borderlands? Like when you originally started playing it, like what was the first thing that jumped out at you as like why did you love it? Yeah.
The promise of the bazillion guns. That was it. I remember reading about their like promise of like the random generated gun parts for all these like combinations, and then like hunting down all of them and all of them being different. And that is like what like originally drew me into the game. It got me so excited about it.
Very cool.
Yeah, it just like Borderlands is so unique in where it came from and like how it engrosses people. It's always fun to hear like how everybody kind of took the game in and made it like their own experience. Just going even as far back as 1, and then especially with 2, I know so many people like latched on the 2 and never let go. Like it's thing. And now it's good to see that 3 has kind of like evolved in a way where it's getting to that point where I think it's going to have that longevity that we look back and say, oh, this is everything that 2 had, and now 3 has all those things and more, and we've really built on it, and it's just nice to see. So have you participated in any events pertaining to just Borderlands or maybe like Twitch streaming in general?
I didn't know when the Borderlands 3 reveal was going to be, and I originally from Boston, and so the last PAX East I went with my friend because it said there was like rumors that Gearbox was going to be there, so I thought it might have been like the reveal, and I went there, and I still have it. It's on my shelf over there, but it was more of a like tiny. They were giving away the like Scrap Trap Tiny Tina card game, where you'd like assemble a claptrap. So that was like my first actually going to an event I hadn't been to. That was my first ever going to any sort of like convention like that. I had a lot of fun. There wasn't the Borderlands 3 reveal, but I did come away with a claptrap card game, which is pretty awesome.
Nice. I'm going to call that a win.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I'm still mad at PAX East. I lost my giant claptrap backpack. I had one of those big bags that they were giving out there, and I think it was actually a Psycho. It was a Psycho backpack, but it was like this big one. It had straps in the shoulders. It could also be used as just an open bag. And I did not. What did you do? I lost it. It's my fault. It's my fault. Speaking of which, have you attended any conventions? Just any at all, just in the general scheme of your life, but like any jumping out?
Not really. I really wanted to go to GCX this year because I am now in Florida, which is new to me. And so I was looking at things and I saw that GCX was pretty nearby. So I was really excited for that. I was planning on doing it, but obviously with things going on, I got canceled, but hoping for next year.
Yeah. That one hurt a lot. GCX would have been a lot of fun, but it's better to be safe than sorry, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hopefully 2021 will be a more sane year. Here's hoping. But yeah, that's really, really cool. So since you've been streaming for a little bit now, what kind of streamer do you see yourself as? Like, are you all about the entertainment? Are you super pro at the game? You can answer both, because I would say you probably qualify as both. But like, what are you trying to do with your streams? Like, what do you sort of decide to do every day when you first start?
So my streams, a lot of the time, what we're doing and what I plan to do is basically just like science, basically, where we hop on the game, and it's a mix of like just like hanging out and farming, or but the majority of my streams are geared towards creating new builds and testing builds and interactions. And I work with chat. Chat feeds me ideas, and we kind of have this back and forth about like talking about different skills, or is it worth going into this point? What weapon do you think complement this skill? And we kind of have this back and forth, and then we'll farm for the thing that we need and then see if it works or not. And it's a lot of fun because, one, we're trying to come out with these crazy things and we're doing it together, but we're also kind of just hanging out and talking about things. I'm not like a super serious person. So I like doing these things and like focusing on stuff, but with so many distractions and so many falling off of cliffs and stupid moments.
Gamer/streamer ADD? I've never heard of any streamer having that.
Shocking. You will fit right in with the community, because I don't think we have a single person who really takes themselves seriously in the Borderlands community.
I think that's the nature of the game, and it's a good way to be.
We have
it attracts.
We have a dingus command. Every time I do something stupid, my chat will type command dingus.
That's awesome.
You would get along really well with my friend Geek Chick. She loves saying the word dingus.
Oh, it's a great word.
That says dingus on it. Yeah, man. So you've been in the community for some time. Obviously, you've made a ton of YouTube videos. Who were some of your influences while you were getting started? Who like really kind of pushed you in the right direction, and who did you look up to as you were beginning your journey in content creation?
The two right off the bat were easily Killer 6 and Jolts. I had been following Jolts since his like first like rocket jump montages in Borderlands 2, and then his content till then, and been following Killer 6. And when I started making videos on YouTube, I really hadn't watched much Twitch streams, so I didn't know what a good stream looked like. I didn't know. I have like a stream deck now. I didn't know that it was a thing. So many things that I didn't know about, like what were part of streams. And so I would just kind of, one, I reached out to them and they like give me advice about a bunch of things. So that was amazingly helpful. And things like about like being part of the community should and shouldn't do. And also just like watching them entertain their audiences and see what they did to see what makes a good Twitch stream, and obviously like influenced by their videos and their like the guides and everything that are so clear, that I wanted to see if I could take some of that and put my own spin on it.
What is it? It's all influences. People you build on those who came before you. That's typically how life works. I think a lot of Star Wars was building on like Kurosawa films and westerns in the old day, Heights and all that kind of stuff. George Lucas just threw everything in there. So it's a similar principle. It's like, okay, Joltson K6 laid this foundation for me. So now I'm gonna take what they did and I'm gonna evolve it into something that you've made your own, which is always amazing to say.
Like one thing that I really like doing video wise, I made a few videos before I made Borderlands videos that are all privated now, but they were back in the day when I was like 14, 15, Call of Duty montages with like epic music. And so I've like part of my videos that I try to incorporate into all my builds, if you go to any of them, is like a little like epic minute to like a minute and a half of like kind of like Borderlands montage clips of like a lot of damage with me like reacting set to like awesome music, and then get into the build video. So putting like my own kind of spin on videos that are just talking about what skill tree you put.
So you have these privated, right? But they still exist in the world. What?
Yeah.
Hear me out here, because we just did the GCX marathon. We just had St. Jude play live this past year, or this, last month. Wow, we're at the end of June now too, so it's almost 2 months ago now. Anyway, so they still exist and they're still uploaded. And the only thing I imagined was just they probably had copyrighted music over it, and that was the only reason. Like, that's why they privated.
Well, that, and I didn't want people to see them.
Kat might know where I'm going with this. The people listening at home, like later on, are knowing where I'm going with this. Keep them and make them an incentive one day if you decide to do any sort of charity marathon, and set like an unreasonly high goal, like $50,000.
But be prepared to pay the price, because you will.
Yes.
You will. No matter what it is. If it's $1 million, Moxsy, your chat will make it happen. That is the incredible, awesome power of like supportive communities on Twitch, and just people being willing to help with charity stuff. It's incredible. I don't know if you've done one yet, but like, honestly, it doesn't matter what your goal is. Every single charity stream I've done, and I've done literally hundreds over the last 6 years, they're amazing. Every single one. And every single goal will get decimated. It doesn't matter what it is. So just whatever you offer up, you better be prepared to pay it.
Just be prepared, because it's going to be a lot of damage to your ego by the end of that.
But it's for charity. It's for the kids, or etc.
And that's the most important thing. If you're taking a pie to the face, but it helps kids with cancer, that's the most important thing.
And it's funny. Especially, it's funny.
Oh boy! Again, Moxsy, thank you so much for joining us. I can't wait. Hopefully, we'll have you on again quite a bit. I'm excited for that. And now let's get to the meat of why we actually have you here, besides the whole interview segment. Let's break it down. There were a whole bunch of hot fixes. There was a patch last week. We talked about it a little bit, but now let's get Moxsy's reactions to the hot fixes applied. I can't believe I actually pulled that segue off. That was another really good one. Phase 2. Finally out. A whole bunch of hot fixes over the course of this past week and the weekend. Gearbox was hard at work listening to all of our changes, and there were many. We talked quite a bit about some of the new content. I wanted to open this up a little bit more and ask just your opinion about, and this is a good place to start, the new Guardian rank talents. Groundbreaker, Dead Man Walking, and Letter Alive, and how you're feeling about them right now.
I really, really like them, especially Groundbreaker. It's very cool because what I found really enjoying with it was making weapons, even though it's like a melee skill, making weapons that I didn't love using as much because they weren't as strong as some other weapons, very viable. For example, the Groundbreaker skill, whenever you melee something, it's going to do 25% of over the last 5 seconds of any damage you've dealt. So weapons like the Hellwalker, which is a Jacob shotgun, it's not the strongest shotgun, but it is really fun to use, and it's like a Doom gun. And I put a melee skill that would allow me to leap between enemies, and so I was doing like Doom shotgun stuff with the Hellwalker, which doesn't do a lot of damage, but when you shoot it, you can proc, you give yourself damage for Groundbreaker, and then you get the melee so that you can melee enemies. And then I had like a shotgun melee build, and it wouldn't have been possible without Groundbreaker, and let me use one of those awesome weapons that has kind of been in my stash for a while because it wasn't doing as much damage as some of the other weapons. So I've been really loving it with melee builds and like melee shotgun hybrid builds. They've been a lot of fun.
have you made use of it with something like the face puncher so far, or have you kind of like strayed away from that for the moment?
The face puncher works very well with it, but for example, like the melee build that I put out, I was trying to stay away from using the face puncher because it's been like a crux kind of melee builds. And I found a way to proc Groundbreaker without having to use guns, because usually it only procs off of like physical damage that you dealt with guns. But if you're Mara, you can do action skill damage and then trigger it with meleeing. So it's been having a lot of fun.
What if this guy's a Mara break game again? I could have foreseen such a thing.
Magical siren powers.
God. I guess I'm gonna have to revive Mara too. Can't escape it. It's just you got to do everything now.
Why would you want to?
I mean, I want to do a lot of damage. I got to point up when I do that every time I say that for the rest of this show. Again, the visual here is Moxsy, for those of you listening at home, is directly above us on the graphic that we have. Tess, I believe, is on my left. Yes. I had to check to my left real quick, literally looking this way, like you're actually over here.
Yeah, I always, yes. I never know which way is left and right. Like when you say your left, does that mean, I don't know, directions are hard.
Stage left. But yeah, there was some stability. That was really nice. They addressed a couple crashes, some other things where the game would become all unresponsive when alt tabbing was happening. Thank God for that, because I alt tab all the time. Mayhem mode, what are you thinking? How you feel about Mayhem mode?
I'm really, really liking it. There was the tone down of the enemy health, like in phase 1, and then the Guardian takedown happened, and I didn't really notice how the changes, because on Guardian takedown on release was pretty tanky, and now with the like kind of universal weapon buffs, as well as them tuning down some of the modifiers that were particularly like difficult on Mayhem 10, I just come to a point where it's almost like you could pick up kind of any weapon that you want, and if you're have like a decent build or a good anointment on it, you can make pretty much anything work, and it feels like just right. Like it's not easy Mayhem 10, but it isn't super limiting in the amount of weapons or builds that you can use.
Good.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, it definitely feels like you have so many more options, like a variety of guns, your abilities, all of the things scaling just gives you so many more options. There's almost too many things to try now. I just want to try everything. But all in due time.
I kind of compared it because before Mayhem 2.0 launched, we had Mayhem 4 was our highest, and at Mayhem 4, because we were there for a while, there were like grenade builds that were viable, melee builds, Iron Bear builds, and then we had Mayhem 2.0 introduced, and it was a little bit more difficult to use those things. And now we're kind of back at that same spot where there's just so many awesome things to use that it kind of reminded me of back in Mayhem 4, Mayhem 1.0, but Mayhem 2.0 now with all these viable things and so many more levels of difficulty with it.
So the scaling in general has just been very rewarding, because I mean, melee, sliding, slamming, skills, pets, vehicles, passive skills, so many things had their buffs. And on top of that, if I recall correctly, melee and action skill damage was further increased in a hotfix that actually came out sometime in the past 3 days, I want to say. So they were actually scaled again to go even further in their damage dealing capabilities.
Yeah.
I feel like all of that has been worth it.
There were a few ninja hotfixes that happened over the last few days. They're all awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Gearbox.
Yeah, we'll get to them in a minute, but they came fast and furious. I was actually very surprised, but very pleased about it too, because they were all really good. Actually, you know what? Let's jump down a little bit. That is exactly, it was weapon adjustments, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, melee and action skill was further increased. Daka Bear had a reported concern that was negating action skill scaling, so that was kind of a big deal too. And there was a reported concern that Zane was not receiving its intended action skill bonus, which I heard some people were chatting about as well on Twitter, but it seems they nipped that one in the bud really quickly. And then weapon adjustments. Oh boy. All right. They are looking at ways to adjust weapon manufacturers and weapon types across the board to bring a greater parity at level between weapons. They are still monitoring balance between legendary gear, but first wanted to address groups of weapons to increase opportunities for weapon builds. Therefore, all pistols will receive a slight increase, with Jacobs receiving the smallest and Maliwan receiving the largest. Wait, that means the Hellshot got buffed again.
Mm-hmm.
This is just the greatest day.
It's very nice.
Please just keep doing that.
There's a pistol in the DLC. I'm trying to remember exactly what it was called.
Is it the Beacon?
No.
The Herald? Oh, is it the Light Show?
Yes, the light show. Oh my god, that thing is glorious. So I did the DLC the first time through on Mayhem 6 because I was like, I just kind of want to have a good time. I don't want to get stuck anywhere. I just want to chill with it and enjoy the story, and then I'll play it on Mayhem 10. So I did on Mayhem 6, had a blast, started up on Mayhem 10, and I had that gun from the Mayhem 6 playthrough, and I was like, let me try and use this. Let's see what it's like. And it just wrecked. Mayhem 6 level gun wrecked on Mayhem 10. It was awesome. I love it. I love it. Now I just need it on Mayhem 10, of course, to really wreck face.
Then you're going to start giving everything again. Oof.
Mitsu, you got to try the Beacon if you like the Hellshock in the new DLC.
Tell me about it. What's the Beacon?
It's like the Hellshock Maliwan pistol, but Hellshock comes in, it's like dedicated to fire and shock. Yep. Beacon comes in all elements. It does splash damage, so it scales with splash damage. It has higher base damage than the Hellshock, and it novas when you reload.
Wow.
It's really good.
Wow. Where do you find that?
I believe it's a drop from the Quartermaster.
Oh, interesting.
What? Okay, let's back up a minute here. I need to unpack one or two things. How is it every element?
It can come in, like, it's not locked to fire shock. Like, it can drop in, like, fire and rad or shock and corrosive. So you can have, like, a little bit more versatility with it. Every element.
For 1 second, I thought it was like a variant of the Chimera, and just every time you shot, it just like rotated between different elements randomly, and I was about to have a heart attack.
That's such a cool effect. I want that effect on more guns. I think it would be awesome. It'd be awesome for that like Mayhem modifier that like where things become immune to like the thing that you've been using for the last 30 seconds and you have to switch. That would be really nice to have with that modifier. Like they would work well together, maybe.
And I misspoke. That weapon is from Jarek Logan. Thanks, chat.
Jarek Logan? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cat for the win. Cool.
You know how to do it. Yeah. All pistols receiving this bump. Of course, Maliwan getting the highest. As enemy health pools increased, low mag size weapons like pistols became less popular. The damage increase across all pistols should provide more opportunities for builds to equip a pistol to accommodate their other weapon choices. And they increased the damage of all TDR SMG weapons because, let's be honest here, TDR is just a joke. No, that's not in their blog post. Don't get mad at me. It's just it is TDR.
The Anarchy would like to know your location.
Uh-oh. please stay away from me. This is very scary. Yeah, so throwing the weapon was impractical compared to shooting enemies with other SMGs. Now the trade-off to throwing at full magazine versus shooting will be far more dramatic, which I'm kind of excited about that. I really like throwing TDR weapons. That was always one of my favorite things to do. But it didn't scale very well. Like it was great when you were playing on normal Vault Hunter. It was okay on True Vault Hunter. And then in the Mayhem levels, it was like tickling enemies. And so, yeah, TDR weapons just fell by the wayside pretty quickly. So
yeah, nothing really tickles anymore. I feel like everything does a lot of damage. It's great. It's awesome. It feels
a
really
lot of
good.
damage, you say?
Cue the clip.
Yeah, and then now chat's gonna use command dingus for me on that one. Oh man, yeah. So that's happening. COV, Dahl, and Jacob's assault rifles were increased to match some of the Vladov assault rifles. Oh boy, because Vladov was really dominating with. They had the Monarch and the Dictator, which were doing really well. What COV, Dahl, and Jacob's assault rifles really jump out of you right now, Moxsy, that you think people should be looking at again?
I'm blanking on its name. It's a Dahl assault rifle from DLC 2. It shoots skulls. Soul Render. Yeah. That's an awesome weapon that got buffed with this, and then Jacob's assault rifles, like the Rowan's Call is cool. The new Stone Thrower on DLC 3 is pretty cool. Ricochets every single bullet that you shoot. Whoa. With Mara, you can get up to some shenanigans.
Nice, very nice.
Of course, Mara can do shenanigans.
Always.
Fire and magic.
And finally, they have increased the damage of traditional multi-pellet shotguns. Hyperion, Maliwan, and Jacobs will all receive damage increases as well. Some of these shotguns were underperforming compared to fast-firing weapons, so now they will pack a greater punch. So to summarize, increased pistol damage across all manufacturers, increased damage on TDR SMGs, increased damage on COV, Dahl, and Jacobs assault rifles, increased damage on Hyperion, Maliwan, and Jacobs shotguns. And I had to stop and think for a second there. Wait, is the Lob Maliwan? No, the Lob is
no.
No, the Lob is Torque.
Torque. I'm sorry. Yes, Torque. Keywords.
It's very reminiscent of TDR though in a lot of ways. So I understand that. I also always get them confused. I'm like, wait, what manufacturer is this?
That last change was my favorite. The shotgun change.
Is it?
The pistol. I really do like the pistol change as well.
Mm-hmm.
But the Jacob shotguns are super awesome again. And the recursion, which is personal favorite of mine. The main weapon I used in Ricochet Witch that got a buff, which I was very happy with. The reflux, which is like the corrosive brainstorm, was included in there. That's a super awesome, super strong weapon. But the Jacobs changes, like to the Stagecoach, the Hellwalker, the Garcia, all so strong now. Really, really awesome.
Nice.
Good. Is there anything specifically that jumps out at your mind that you think is still underperforming a little bit that could use some love?
I've heard one of my favorite weapons at the very start of this game when it was released was the Butcher, and I've heard that the Butcher still is, for the like amount of ammo consumption, just not doing it still. That's a big favorite of mine.
If you could tune it, what would you do to it?
A little bit more damage. It needs just a little bit more damage. It's got the fire rate. It's got that going for it. And if you can get like a consecutive hits on it, you can make it really good. But because it consumes so much ammo, it's hard to like justify using with the amount of damage output that it uses.
Yeah. I remember when the game first launched, the Butcher was like incredible. And then it kind of got nerfed just a smidge, and then it kind of just went the way of the dodo in builds, and it's unfortunate because it was a really awesome gun, especially if you were playing Flak. I remember wrecking face with that thing with Flak's Fade Away. It was ridiculous. It was so good. Bring back Butcher.
Another one is the Crossroads. Now that there's so many good SMGs, that was one that was like my personal favorite weapon a while ago. And then it got the pellet reduction change. So it was only shooting 3 instead of 4. And there's so many good SMGs now that just like isn't on the list. And that's a really cool weapon too.
So those are some things to look at. You were a little off brand, by the way. You said a little damage, just a little more damage. and I wanted to jump in there. I had to wait on it. But I was like, oh, almost.
Each pellet should be doing as much as the a rocket launcher. There we go.
Oh, and they all should be plague bearers. Every projectile, it's a Butcher plague bearer shotgun hybrid.
True mayhem.
Oh I was gonna say, so if damage wasn't it, would it be acceptable? Because you mentioned ammo consumption was a problem. The specialty of the butcher is that sometimes it doesn't consume ammo. If they up the amount of like ammo it did not consume, would that also perhaps be a little bit more in line with what you were looking for?
I think that would definitely help, but at the same time, like if you're just standing in front of an enemy and showering them with bullets and you're not seeing that health bar go down, it takes away from like the feel of a weapon and like feeling powerful, even if they like you still can maintain your ammo with it. So yeah, I think damage increase would definitely be a good thing for that weapon.
I think time to kill is really important in games like Borderlands, and like where a lot of weapons and a lot of builds are now is really good time to kill, but some like the butcher just isn't quite there yet. Like that was the issue I think for a lot of people with the takedown being so hard originally, and just people that struggled at higher mayhem modes before these changes. That was part of the problem, right? The time to kill just took so long. And like in my opinion, I would rather difficulty was increased. Like if they ever added mayhem modes or mayhem levels or anything like that, I would rather have more enemies that die at the same rates they die now or even faster, as opposed to just having tankier enemies but fewer. You know what I mean? Because shooting the same enemy for a really long time, boring.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Shooting an enemy and having it like explode or disintegrate into wonderful, beautiful screaming pieces, or not screaming pieces preferably, and then having another enemy pop up and doing it again, like that pop of an enemy head exploding is very satisfying. So
I think it's a trash mob versus boss kind of situation. You want to be able to just mow down like trash mobs, because if they're difficult, then it's just like, all right, well, why am I doing it? But if it's a boss, then you kind of like have a little bit more leeway where it's like, oh, well, yeah, it's a boss, so it's supposed to be a little bit more difficult. But even then, I'm sure there's a limit too, where everybody's like, all right, this is a meat wall. This is not an enjoyable experience.
Yeah.
So
with bosses, there are mechanics that make it interesting, right? So.
Yes. No. And that goes back to talking about Guardian Takedown, Anathema having a few different mechanics than we're kind of used to, and Scourge sending you around and healing. Those are interesting ways to go about making those invincible phases a little bit more palatable for people, which is it's nice. I think the response to that has been really great. So, yeah. Rounded out, Bounty of Blood hot fixes. There were 4. They're very, very specific to Bounty of Blood campaign. 2 straggler townsfolk that were clapping their hands at the wrong time were removed. That's what you get for not being able to keep the beat. Potential progression blocker where Flak Beastmaster was sometimes unable to grab an important ledge. That's kind of funny. Juno sometimes got stuck in a walkway, and additional or just instances where cash registers would sometimes float. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Sure.
Good fixes.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you brought those cash registers back down to earth. Or I should say Gehenna, either or. Yeah.
Some of the ninja hotfixes adjusted Iron Baron clones so they would properly scale with Mayhem level. Golden chests now scale with Mayhem level 2. So if you find a rare chest, keys very nice. Very nice. It's very satisfying.
That was Noelle. She put that out on Twitter. She was like, "Oh, just so you know, and nobody has to ask, golden chests do scale with Mayhem. Thank you. Have a good night."
Good job, Noelle.
Hey.
Very cool.
So, all right, we got through all that. That was a lot. Oh man, I went a little bit longer than I thought. That's fine. So, it was a DLC. Did you hear about it? Did you know that's the thing? I don't know if you guys were enjoying it. Maybe you did. Maybe you didn't. It was pretty good.
Just really liked it.
Yeah. Kind of thought it was the best thing ever.
It was really good.
Did you? Okay. Let's break this down right from the start. Tess, what did you like so much about this DLC?
So many things. I love that. Okay, so when you first meet Rose, you love Rose instantly because her style is just incredible. And then she goes and she kills her loyal pet creature that she trained from a baby, and you just are like flabbergasted as to how could you do this? And then it turns out she's a bad guy, but she's a really high quality bad guy. So like, I'm really, really glad she's the bad guy. I think she's possibly one of the best villains in Borderlands so far. I think in terms of all the villains in Borderlands 3, she's my personal favorite. I think she's beautiful and terrifying and interesting, and you kind of empathize with her a little bit. Like, she almost reminds me of Jack in some ways, where like you could see how she might have started out okay and then turned very, very, very evil. And I love her, and so that's part of it. I love the environment. I love the crazy combination of like Western and Eastern styles that they did, and the boss fights. I like every single one of these boss fights. They all have their own unique, fun little quirks and things that make them special. It was a really, really, really cool experience to figure them out for the first time, and then replaying them. I'm enjoying farming those bosses a lot. So everything. I like everything.
Quartermaster comes to mind a little bit on that one, but
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get there.
I was kind of like, what, when I first found that boss, but I figured it out eventually. What about you, Moxsy?
Few things. Personally, I loved the environments and the areas and the fact that they were so large. And one of the things that like playing Borderlands kind of like taught me is to like explore everything. Like Borderlands developed that habit of like go explore and see if you can find that like chest or that enemy. And this DLC like really rewards you around like every little corner, every little like punching a core exploder. There's like a new enemy and you get to a new area and you kill the enemy. And oh my God, it's the Unkempt Herald. Like it's back. Like there was so many awesome moments and so many like things that you got to explore around every corner. There was a different enemy and they were dropping an awesome weapon and then you could pick it up. And the story, the environments, but the thing that was going to be lasting for me, I think, is the weapons and their design. 22 new weapons, and genuinely pretty much every single one, when you pick them up, they're like unique. They have their quirks. They're really good on some characters, not as great on other characters, and they're awesome. The weapons, definitely the thing that I love the most, and also how many different like little crew challenge enemies and areas to explore there are. Even after you beat the main story, I found myself spending a lot more time like after the main story, just trying to discover all the areas of the maps and get all those quirky, fun side quests done as well.
I haven't done the side quests yet. What about you, Mitsu? What's been your favorite thing?
Oh, okay. So I managed to get the side quest on, which is funny because usually Tess gets them done before I do. I think that's been the pattern. No. You in the past 2 DLCs got them done before I did, remember? Because you knew about Double Down before I did. Because you told me about it.
Yeah. I guess that's true.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, this quest sounds like a lot of fun. And then you go and do it. I'm doubling down. It's the best quest ever. So in this DLC, I too enjoyed the East meets West fusion. That was really well done. I liked when certain things happen later on where it's a very striking visual as you watch it happen in real time. I thought that was a huge step forward in cinematic in-game storytelling for Borderlands. I like that more. That's like Half-Life. We all know how I feel about that game. Do more of us experiencing what's going on instead of seeing it in a cutscene. Watching that happen in real time and having to like literally feel the results of that action was far and away more emotionally like appealing and tugging and enjoyable than anything I think I've experienced in some of the previous storyline missions. And we've had some real good beats. We've had some real good beats coming up to this point. But the entire point is they love telling a story about Vault Hunters. So it's nice to be in my Vault Hunter skin while I'm experiencing that story aspect. Yeah. And that's just how I personally feel about that. And that's something that DLCs have really hit high notes on. Is you everything happens to you. And that's what it needs to be. So aside from that, I haven't had it yet. I haven't gotten it, but I am told from a million D reputable sources that the Herald is back. Is Is it true?
Yeah, I got the Herald, and maybe I just didn't get a great one. I loved that. I felt like in Borderlands 2, especially in OP levels and just towards the end game, you basically had to have a Herald or bust. Like you could not live in that game without one. It was completely essential, and it was glorious. Especially the DP Herald, the double penetrating. It was amazing, amazing, amazing gun. And I didn't expect the Herald in Borderlands 3 to be the same, but I think my expectations, just being so used to it being like the gun, were understandably kind of high, and I was a little bit disappointed. I have to be honest. That's the one gun, like out of all of the guns that I've tried in the DLC, I've gotten a bunch of them. There was the Root, the sniper, is freaking incredible. I love that gun. Beautiful. It's so much fun. Love it, love it, love it, love it so much. That pistol I told you about, the light show.
Yeah.
I really want to find the beacon now. I'm curious. And then there was an SMG too that I tried. There were a couple SMGs that I'm trying to get. People have told me about the flipper. It's supposed to be really good.
Yeah, flipper's really good.
Yeah.
You tried the license yet?
I have a license, but I didn't love the license that I tried. But I think I need to find some other ones maybe. But yeah, the Herald, unfortunately, maybe it's just because my expectations were so high, but it's just a little bit underwhelming.
I think part of the problem is explosive damage was so neutral and strong in Borderlands that the Herald in Borderlands 2 was like the all-purpose gun where it wasn't necessarily the strongest gun for any situation, but in any situation it could have been the right gun to get what you needed to get done. And there's something to be said for that, because it's nice to have all reliable, which is exactly what the Herald was. Did you need to kill Hyperius? Cool, grab your Herald. Did you need to kill G? Grab your Herald. Everything was just a Herald, and that was your solution. Was it the best? Again, no, but it was there and it was viable.
I feel like either the recoil or the fire rate, like if the recoil went down just a smidge and the fire rate went up just a smidge, it would be a lot better. Just like a little bit. It doesn't have to be a huge change, but it would feel a lot better. It doesn't feel very good to shoot. That's my main problem with it. I think.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
I
haven't chance yet, so I don't.
I agree with that. I was a little underwhelmed with it when I first picked it up on my Amara, but I recently have gotten a really good one that I've been using on Moe's, which was a Fire Herald with 200 splash anointment. And that on Moe's feels really good. But it's interesting because it definitely isn't in this game like your like be all end all weapon, but it does feel like it can have its place, which I do like. And for toward pistols, I think it's probably our best one because there's not that many other like good toward pistols.
Yeah, that's true. I never use torque pistols because they just don't. Maybe it's just I don't like the way they, in general, that class of guns feels in Borderlands 3. I mean, I'm just picky about my gunplay. I don't know. I don't think they're bad. I just feel like they all, like, their fire rate is all a little bit too slow for me, and they all kick a lot.
Yeah, I mean, what other Torg pistols are really out there that are really that noticeable?
There are others, but nobody uses them.
Yeah, nobody jumps out at you, you know? So we talked about Rose a little bit, the immediate shock of Rose being who she is. It was like, oh, okay, all right, cool. Juno and the sheriff, they had a really nice rapport going on pretty early there. I was a little surprised by that dynamic. I had this burning question, and Tess especially, I think you might have some insight on this one. Of course, Moxsy, I want to hear from you too, but like, why Juno? Why did he pick her as his like heir apparent, if you will?
I thought there was some sort of like bond between Juno and the sheriff that they touched on. That was like he kind of rescued her.
Yeah, well,
I'm not sure if I'm right about that.
She also she left the crew that she ran with because she has a moral compass, right? Despite being kind of among the bad guys. what the bad guys were going to do was way too bad for her. Like, they were going to wreck the town completely, and she wasn't okay with that. And so she left everything she knew and came to the town, and they could have arrested her. They could have just shot her, like some people wanted to, you know, and so she literally risked her life and limb and everything to help these townspeople because she has a moral compass, right? So she's good at heart, and like she proved that. And everybody else kind of sees her as, you know, once a bad guy, always a bad guy. But like, none of them have proven themselves. None of them ever did anything really bad either. But I feel like that redemption of like, of being a bad guy and then changing sides and giving all of that up and risking your own life to save these other people that you don't even know says a lot about her character. And the sheriff like got that, and then, you know, like Rose put a huge bounty on her head on literally like wanted everybody to go attack her and kill her with her own hatchet, and you know, the sheriff was like, no, you can stay here, thanks for saving us. So I don't know, I think he thought she had a lot of inner strength.
Those giant hatchets, by the way, super badass.
Yeah.
Super badass. That was really cool.
100% agree.
She's kind of a cool vault hunter.
Yeah.
Dual hatchets.
Yeah. Oh my god, that would be awesome. That would be a fun melee skill.
Oh my god. I wanted to meet Brick. I want to see that interaction.
Yes.
Brick and Juno meeting each other for the first time.
That would be cool.
You got lots of hatchets. I like that. I love Brick. Oh man. I was wondering how they might like write themselves out of having to do instant teleportation for a lot of things. They developed like chronotech all of a sudden. Suddenly people have the ability to use giant backpacks that can move things across space and time. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that whole mechanic, and also like the portals that you can use between one place and another. It's so awesome that there are portals in Borderlands. I love it. I absolutely love it. I want more of that. And some of the puzzles involving those, and then the fact that I only like I forget about them a little bit because I don't know the maps that well yet, but especially on higher mayhem levels when you're doing more challenging things, it's really great to get away from enemies. Like, let's say you have aggro and everything is on top of you and you just need to like skedaddle to regen really quickly or reload or whatever. You can literally jump through a portal and jump back and be back in the combat, but you have a second to breathe, you know? And they're positioned in a way to permit you to do that in a lot of the combat locations, and it's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, it's very good. Teleporting was super cool. It opens up a whole new host of opportunities for them to create levels and level dynamics that we haven't really seen in Borderlands before, because it's relied so heavily on us having to have very simple mobility. Even in Borderlands 3, it was okay, you can jump. It's one jump though. And you can use mantling, but the mantling, you know, is limited by how high you can actually get up before you're allowed to actually climb up something. So teleportation offers a whole new host of opportunities for both horizontal and vertical movement across stages that we haven't really had a chance to explore all that much in the game. And I wanna see where they take that. Hopefully it shows up again in DLC 4, and if not, then in future games, assuming that happens. It's a foregone assumption almost, I feel like, but let's just operate under the what ifs, because that's the proper way to do things.
Well, also Rose, they never found her body, right?
That's true.
I want to see her come back. I don't know how or when or what happens, but I definitely want to see her come back. She has so much potential as a bad guy. She's an awesome bad guy. So I want more Rose, please.
You should team up with Captain Scarlet. There's no body there either.
She had the like glowy eye things too, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah. What was that about? Was that ever explained?
I don't think so. Was it?
Somewhat.
Kind of?
Someone in my chat had the theory that she was a siren and her tattoos she had tattoos over her glowy tattoos so she wouldn't glow.
Oh my God. My brain is oozing out of my ears right now with that thought. That's awesome if true.
I love that idea. Oh my God.
That would be very cool. That's a brilliant concept. True or not, that's a brilliant thought. That's very cool.
Yeah. Wow. That I think my mind just actually exploded right there, because that's a Rose thing to do. It explains why she seems to have some sort of supernatural power, and it seems to explain why she would have such an intricate tattoo in a very coincidental, air quotes here, location on her body. That's exactly where a siren's tattoos would be.
Core infusion or siren powers, as said in chat. Yeah, who knows? Who knows?
Oh, cool. Core, we'll get to that in a minute. But
yeah.
Fantastic jet beasts and where to find them. What did you guys think about the jet beasts?
I thought they were very cool. I haven't gotten all of the parts yet for mine, I don't think. I'm still rocking the machine guns, but I saw in the trailer that there was some sort of like artillery or like mortar strike that you were doing. That looked pretty cool. And I liked them. I was on Mayhem 10 and mine wasn't doing that much damage to enemies. I'd usually have to get off, but I did enjoy using them.
Yeah. I wonder if other vehicle types will do more damage. I feel like I mean, they scaled vehicle damage, right? So it was like they were doing damage on higher Mayhem levels, but I definitely felt like my guns were doing way more and my abilities were doing way more. So I don't know what that's about, but they're still really fun to drive and just boss looking, really, really badass looking. So they're very fast. Yeah. I also don't have all the parts. I want all the parts. I like it.
They're super fun to drive. This DLC got me a little sad. Jacobs did it bad. We've been so used to Jacobs being the good guys, but they're technically speaking here the bad guys in this particular DLC, because they were the ones who kind of like dropped on the planet and were like, hey, let's do super highly unethical and probably intergalactically illegal research on dinosaurs and slap them on front of our motorcycles for funsies and then other things. And they did it all with they did it all with Core. Now I wanted to pose this to the panel here. What is Core? Is it something very similar to Iridium? Is it like an offshoot of it? Like, what are your theories on Core?
When I heard the it was in like the gameplay before, and when you're like traveling through Asphalt Peaks, they talk about it and like the core experimentation. It kind of felt like the wildlife exploitation preserve in Borderlands 2, where because like you're running around and there's all these crazy creatures and stuff like that, and we have crazy monsters in this, and I really liked that kind of like slag experimentation, core experimentation, and I do hope that they explore that more too, because it's really cool and could lead to some like crazy concoctions of monsters with Core.
Someone in chat saying it might be corrupted Iridium, which I also love. That's an interesting concept.
I like that one. That's actually really good. So another suggesting Tiberian Wars. There was a little bit of Tiberian influence going on there too, with the crystal lines growing out of the ground. You could punch them and then they explode.
Yeah,
I thought that was really cool.
Those were so awesome, and how you could use them to your advantage, not just as mechanics to move the story along and open up pathways, but to do damage. So satisfying. So making sense of the environmental damage being boosted. I love that. I absolutely love how that works. Very cool idea.
Yeah, super nice. The bathhouse. I love this bathhouse. What a beautiful looking structure. Oh my goodness. Everything about it, the aesthetic, the appeal, the design, the size of it. It is a giant location, and it has so many different aspects and areas to it. There is a side quest in there, Tess, you're gonna have a lot of fun with. You get to give a guy an unwanted, if you will, bubble bath because he refuses to come out. He refuses to, no, it's okay. You don't see anything. He just refuses to come out. So you just keep throwing stuff in there to make him come out. And just like, there's so many cool like particle effects that go on. And like you hear him just being like, I like this. This is okay. And
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a fun side quest. When you do it, you'll be like, oh, I love this. I hope. I don't know, but I hope so. Yeah.
Sounds like something I would enjoy. I'm gonna do all of the side quests once I finish the main story on Mayhem 10 and have all the guns.
Yeah.
I really liked, one of my favorite parts of that area was the area leading up to that boss in that area was all these like kind of like steam vents coming out, or like the sauna vents that felt very like thematic right before you drop down into the first boss fight. Kind of reminded me of like a I don't know, but I really enjoyed that. It was very like intimidating right before getting into that first arena because you knew it was coming.
Yeah. So I just so many good parts to it. It really so I want to continue. I do. But two things are holding me back in my brain here. One is we are very, very short on time. I apologize for that. And two is I don't want to go into, because I'm reading the rest of what we have to talk about, and we are treading very dangerously now in the spoiler territory. And I don't want to get there. Specifically because there's one thing I wrote that harkens back to something that I realized I didn't specifically outright say. So I think at this point we'll probably leave everybody with that tease. And as much as I hate it, because I hate doing this, I think it's about time we start wrapping up. Okay. Sorry, I got a little sad about that one because the story was really good and I wanted to talk about it more, but I think it's good for us to yeah, next week. But I'm sad though because Moxsy won't be here next week.
Bro, we have to have him come back more often. I mean, that'll be so hard, right?
Yeah, I should talk about that real quick, just so everybody can know what a stand-up guy Moxsy is, what a mensch, if you will, is. We originally were going to have Greg Miller and his wife Jen come on the show, but unfortunately, because things have been a bit pants on head lately, they were unable to do it, and they sadly had to cancel. And at the absolute last second, I asked Moxsy, and he was ecstatic to come on. And that means the world to us. Yes. So from all of us here at the Bordercast, we appreciate immensely you coming on the show and being here and sharing and bringing some of your community here too to all hang out because they were a treat to watch and chat today. Yeah, no, I loved it. So again, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much for doing this in such short notice. We appreciate it.
Yeah, hugely. You guys, if you're somehow not already following him, I'm going to put his Twitch channel in the Twitch chat. You can also see it written up here, and for those of you guys listening, it's Moxsy. Okay, yes. And his Twitter is Moxsy Make sure you follow him or else.
What does the OG stand for? Is it what I think it is?
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure. Okay, perfect. Good to know. All right. Awesome. All right, here we go. Bounty of Blood is out now. Make it happen. Go get it. Go play it. It's great. I promise. Do the things. Guardian Takedown also is out there, still waiting to challenge all of you. And now that it's been nerfed a little bit, or should we say rebalanced, it is far more enjoyable and far more accessible to far more of you out there with far more builds you can use to beat this far out content. Borderlands Legendary Collection is hanging out on the Nintendo Switch. Guess what I'm going to do after this stream? Go out on my porch, play some Legendary Collection. I'm just saying, because it is actually nice outside. So much Borderlands. Moxsy, one more time, where can the people find you?
Twitch.tv/Moxsy, MoxsyOG, Twitter, and on YouTube, Moxsy. We are 900 subscribers away from 100,000, which is crazy. And thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate being on the show.
Anytime. Thank you for being here, bud.
Yeah, seriously, super, super, super fun. I've hoped that we could do this ever since I watched and edited your UVH video, and I'm just excited to see you in the community being awesome and part of things like the Bordercast. It's really, really awesome. So thank you very much for joining us. Thank you all for joining us. If you guys are enjoying the show as much as we love doing it, please make sure to subscribe and follow on Twitch. Subscribe on YouTube. You can also find us in podcast form, audio only on Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Music. I think that's all of them. And of course, join us live on Twitch every single Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific.
There's so much. There is so much, and there is far more to come. I can't wait. I'm very excited for what is to come in Borderlands. Make sure you go play the DLC, because Rose, Juno, Titus, the sheriff, everybody is an absolute riot. So, with that all being said, on behalf of Tess, myself, the entire stream team, thank you so much for joining us, as you do every single week. Now go forth and make some mayhem.